That girl who loves hanging out with my friends, and usually my friends turn out to be originally starts off being clients who are vulnerable with me, share with me their lives intimately to be able to help them, to be able to help me, to be able to ask the subconscious the most appropriate questions, to be able to give them the perspectives and the information that they are seeking. So we find soul family through this. Find friends through this. And I feel very privileged and lucky to be able to have so many people that trust me, that want to share with me their journey, their pain, their joy, their inspirations, their motivations, and their passions for being here now. And so I want to introduce you all to my friend. Um, and he's here willing to want to talk to all of us and to share his journey and experiences along with all of us. So welcome, my friend. How are you doing today?
Good, Joe. Good. Thanks for inviting me and having me on.
You're welcome. Do we want to officially have a name for you, or would you like to just be called friend today?
Heck, you can call me by my first name. No worries. It's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi.
Not too sure why I got emotional. I just think I just have such gratitude for people reaching out to me and trusting me to be their advocate with their subconscious. And I know you've been on this big journey, like all of us, and I just feel really humbled and honored to be able to be of service for you and to connect in with your subconscious and chat away and to have experiences with you and to feel like just that home, that sense of home, finding soul family members and seeing them and meeting them and hearing outside of the sessions like how their lives are doing. And it feels so comforting and confirming. I mean, we've got children similar ages. We get it. We get living a life among the muggles, and we get it to understand a life living amongst each other, knowing and recognizing each other at a soul level, but also knowing and accepting what we know and still coping to still be here to be of service.
Yeah, well put, Joe. Thanks for all that. And yeah, I do thank you for having me on. I reached out to you, listened to your this channel as well as your other channel for a while, and I just resonated with it. I can honestly say at a soul level, that it just became, a part of my day to listen to whatever you had to say, and I appreciated it. I appreciate the channeling, the other conversations with all your other say friends.
Mm.
um yeah, and I appreciate that, and thank you for being there for for us, for guys like me, for people like us, for all humans. I do appreciate that, Joe. Thank you.
I think it's important for everyone to sort of start understanding, who's listening. We're all listening to this in our own countries. I feel like we're all, to some description, leaders within our own social circles that are physically in our lives, whether it's our friends and our family. And we are supposed to be the stable ones, right? We're supposed to be the ones that have done enough of our own inner work to know when bigger events come, we are going to still be able to know how to hold higher frequency and to be able to give people the compassion and empathy and support and motivation when challenges happen or when life happens. And right now, life is definitely happening to all of us.
Mhm.
And so I think part of listening to the sessions is about applying them to be of service. And it's literally the people that are in our lives that is the most beneficial and helpful for us to be of service for them. But also knowing that when we solve something or support each other, consciously, this all is added into the conscious collectiveness, whatever you want to call it. All beings here, uh, when we learn something consciously, that is applied to the memory banks, I guess you could say, and everyone has access to it. And so when you're using our free will to start asking questions for something, our guides are going to be able to nudge us to the epiphanies of, well, without knowing Ryan personally, when Ryan mastered the crap out of one scenario, his experience got added into the memory banks of the conscious collective. And then my guide's going to pull that out and give me the epiphanies that worked for Ryan. I won't know Ryan, but my epiphany of experiences is what my guides are using these memory banks of access of information to be able to help us. Because from their perspective, super far advanced without emotions and without really being here. I mean, they could just say, well, love yourselves. Could you just fucking start loving yourselves? That's going to be helpful. We see that working great for many. But when we're trying to like get specifics, them using the conscious collective memory data bank, whatever you want to call it, is helpful. So thanks for everyone who's empowering themselves and overcoming situations, because that's included in being useful and being of service and putting, empowerment into the conscious collectiveness of humanity. I think that's what we're here for.
Right on. Yes, thank you. Thanks to all.
So we wanted to just hang out and have a conversation and just be real and just sort of share our lives or whatever we want. And I sort of gave you open access to whatever you wanted to discuss and talk about. I'm here for it. So what are the things that you're curious about the most that you would like to explore today?
Sure. Well, Joe, that's a pretty big opening statement for all that. Thank you. And yeah, I did have a few questions regarding labels, not really labels, but kind of terms. One of the ones that you mentioned in your video is looping. So I wonder if you can kind of elaborate on the looping part a little bit.
Totally. So when someone cuts us off or says something mean to us, or we have, conflict, and there is an injustice, we feel so frustrated with it. We could just remind ourselves of the time someone called us an idiot or whatever. And we will just keep thinking about it again and again and again. And our mindsets and our memories will loop into replaying that disempowerment, that situation, that argument, whatever it is, on repeat. And we will define ourselves with that relationship of that person, for example, because of that one time they said something. And we will put this as like a little, I don't know, mental memory tag of, the frustrations or whatever it is. I don't know what to even call it, but our mindsets will replay this tragedy, this drama over and over and over again. This is to be able to help us remind ourselves to relook at it and see it from a bigger picture. When we learn certain information, it's fantastic, but there's always more perspectives that can be built onto every single concept and information that we are learning. And so we get sort of bite-sized pieces of information that are the forming structures of our fundamental, foundational, informational knowledge bank of wisdom. And there's many pieces that can go into it, and there's many pieces of the puzzle, shall you say. So when we are trying to find all these puzzle pieces to build up this beautiful, big, solid foundation of information, our foundation bricks of information are not always fully formed foundational brick pieces. So we're trying to add on to it. So if we've got a problem or an issue that we need to resolve to be able to make that learning lesson complete for that brick of foundational experiences being on here on earth, we will keep looping to find the triggers, to find the opportunity to grow from and to understand that lesson. And so we will loop with this issue, this little Achilles heel, prick or thorn, or whatever we want to call it, to remind us this is still outstanding. This is still inner work that is needing to grow. The perspective that you have of this experience is limited, so you need to keep going with it. Often we just think, yeah, I'm pissed off with that person, fucking asshole, whatever. But ultimately, we're looping to be able to keep being reminded by our teams, look at this more. You've been reminded of this situation for the millionth time to look at this now. And so we can go back and look at it and realize, what was the lesson? That some bully held me down and threw snow on my face. They disempowered me. they mocked me, they ridiculed me, and they personally assaulted me with snow. So what do you learn from that? Do you learn how to respect others and how to feel vulnerable when someone tries to disempower you? Therefore, you learn from that and you don't do that to others. What is the purpose there? What is the significance there? Is it to feel something this heinous and horrible, fucking bullies, whatever, whatever, whatever? So then, as a father, as a mother, when your child comes and tells us that that same situation happened to them, do we get to heal our own childhood through healing our own child to be able to empower them to realize, okay, so that person who had to do that to you, they were reacting to their struggles, and you talk to them about how people, hurt people, how we must have compassion for others who don't know better, how to love each other and themselves. And it's teachable moments. It is always teachable moments. But these looping things can keep us up at night because we can't understand the perspective of it. And when you get the metaphysical perspective of certain things, that's when you get to be able to unpack it, remove the emotions. We've felt those emotions for long enough. And usually you can only feel the situation or you can think about the situation. And this is our choice. Do we choose to feel continually this frustration of that event? Or do we start thinking about that situation in terms of lessons, significances, and purposes?
Wow, thanks for describing that so well. It's awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel like once you have the bigger perspective of looking at, say, things, events, words, actions, and you can look at everything from a bigger perspective, I think it could, like, it's totally changed my life and my outlook at life and the way I handle certain situations. To sit and to feel those emotions before you react to them, I think is amazing.
It's kind of like just pausing the reaction. We already know that we can be hot headed. We already know we can be super emotional, reactive. We've mastered that. I got A pluses in all of that, very, very heightened with all of my range of emotions. But at some point, you sort of feel burnt out by that. You're going to go into that loop of frustration or outrage or, louder voices or quick tempered or feeling so frustrated that you can't express what you're feeling and thinking. So you just cry. There's a whole lot that we know we're very capable of doing. So once we recognize those senses from the get go, okay, that's this. So why am I feeling that? And it's just thinking. While we're supposed to be loving and open and compassionate to everyone, including ourselves, we can do that while still thinking. But are you going to lead your life living through thoughts and things? Thinks? Okay. Yeah. So language and me, we're just dating. We're kind of, we're taking it easy. We're seeing how, we don't want to get too serious and committed to it. But we're so heartfelt, we're so emotionally based. Do we let that run our lives when it's reactive and not in love? When we've got fear, when we're emotively reacting to stimulants of situations that are triggering others, life's amazing. But when you take control of observing the situation and seeing how the other people are responding and why they are responding. So it's more about observing them and not reacting to them, but observing them and questioning them. When we start empowering ourselves, especially if we have people who, the classic labels of narcissists or gaslighters or whatever, those people that get their shits and giggles off trying to hurt people and disempowering people because they love that gets them right off. Like they thrive on that. When we don't play their games anymore and when we don't react to that stuff and when we literally ask them questions really calmly and empower ourselves to make them think and be accountable for their own behaviors and actions, this is when we see them wildly get out of control rapidly and they become feral with their insecurities. Like everything comes out to them because they are not in control of the situation. They have learned so much while holding pain to manipulate and control others. They're masters at it. because they're unwilling to look at their own looping of their own insecurities, of their own challenges within them. So they are very heightened and masterful and skillful at hiding their vulnerabilities while trying to disempower others at a very, hobby like rate.
Yeah, there's always, yeah, I can see myself. Yeah, there's always work to be done, though, eh? Yeah, I
It's
see it.
beautiful. I know people are like, oh, it's so boring here, I want to go. And I'm like, well, if you're bored, go on the internet and love people. Go on the internet and love people and empower people and say to them that everything's going to be okay, because it has to be, right? Like, you just start learning spirituality, it's not possible for things not to be okay. At a soul level, everything's amazing. It's hard, but it's amazing. And it's so intriguing and purposeful for experiences to be had now, to be able to be great teachable moments for other planets, other civilizations, other cultures, other planets and civilizations that you may be part of creating and guiding. So, there is no lessons that are wasteful or not useful, while we sort of feel like we're collecting a whole lot of empowerment and how to process emotions. uh it's just significant, and I know that that's an overused word, and I know we could explore every part of what is significant when they tell us it's significant in sessions, but how many answers do you need to be able to start trusting everything is purposeful and significant?
Right. Well, if you're bored, sign up for a dog foster. That's what we're doing this weekend. Getting a new dog, come in just to help out the local stray dog population, foster them, and they always keep us on our toes. And just like having a new kid every other week.
Mm. So dogs are those beings that are here to just give us unconditional love. That's it. That's all they want, is to love us unconditionally. And this is quite healing for people who haven't had that in any other relationship with people. And so dogs are beautifully giving, energetically wise. And the same could be said with cats, but cats teach you how to have boundaries. Cats will love you, but they have boundaries and they want you to love yourself with boundaries. And, the way that we respond and learn from animals is profound, but, we dress them up and treat them like our fur babies, and that's all cute and all. But just like with real children, if we don't notice the lessons that they're providing for us, we're kind of missing the point.
Yeah, it's true. I was going to ask you about cats and, didn't want to get into a debate about cats or dogs, but yeah, that's interesting. But that's
Well,
interesting about cats. Yeah, I didn't know. I know, there's a lot of references about, cats and ETs and such. And,
mhm.
their purring helps, with the sound of their purring helps, calm a person down. But I've always been a dog guy. It's interesting. But yeah, I think dogs are full of love. You could be mad at them one day, and 2 minutes later they forgot about what happened, and now they want to be your friend. Or what my dogs do are, when you're getting upset, they kind of feel that coming on, and then you end up with 100-pound lab in your lap.
Mm.
That's very common, but very, I'm very appreciative of my animals, of my dogs. They taught us lots of stuff, and I got a fairly young dog. He's teaching me still patience, right?
Mhm.
Patience. So yeah, like you said, life is full of lessons. There's lessons around every corner.
Well, animals are gifts for us because, dogs ground us. That's why they like to be done by our feet, to
Mm-hmm.
ground our energy. And, cats want to be, more sort of supporting and nurturing our stomachs, and, like they want to be on our laps. I mean, dogs do as well, but, there's so much to be said about it. So look at your animal's behavior and how they're supporting you. I mean, they're not self-serving as such as you would think. They actually are service. They actually are to be here to be of service. And I know many animals who the clients are very concerned about them. When we explore what's going on for the animals, it's because they're absorbing the issues from their owners. What owners? Soul family, really. But a lot of the pets will take on the density from the people who can't ground themselves properly. And so, they take it on, they absorb a lot, and they ground us and love us completely. If we acknowledge and notice that, of course, we can shut down and dismiss love constantly. We can do that. So, are we going to honor them for their service and recognize that the energy exchange that they're trying to give us, or are we just going to shut them out and think, oh, well, you just, flee back? And this goes for everything. When you're noticing birds, this is about reminding you how free you truly are at a soul level. You really are free. You really are. And while we feel very heavy and stuck in these bodies, and we can't fly and we can't do the things we want to do, I'm sort of here to be of service for others and blah, 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 blah. Every animal and creature is really giving us a great lesson. And, I think I shared with you how, I felt bad that I was a mass murderer, killing all these aphids on my roses. And then, I did this video, and then randomly, I don't know, a year or so later, I listened to that video again, and I felt, this consciousness again of heaviness of, I did choose. I had to choose. I chose my roses plant over, all these insects. And I felt bad. Like, who do I choose? What, who deserves what? We all deserve to live. And I felt like the collectives were like, well, yeah, welcome to our little dilemma of, who do you choose? Everyone's at an equal level. Everyone's worthy of life, and deserving of food, and having, aphid baby communities, and, whatever. And, I respect that. And this is, again, about learning these lessons, and it's seen all of the perspectives, and there could be 100 lessons and perspectives for each lesson. And so, again, I've got the fresh memory of, my guilt of killing all these bugs and thinking, how am I supposed to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then I go back out to my rose plant, and it's covered. Literally, it's an infestation, absolute infestation. And I just look at this and go, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I don't want to be this murderer anymore. I don't want to kill all of these bugs, and I want to support the bugs. I also want to support my rose bush. What am I supposed to do? And so I felt like, okay, like, there's all these options, and I can use my free will any which way I choose. And I know you, Ryan, would be like, wait for the ladybugs to come in and blah, 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 blah. But I kind of feel like at this point, because we've been, not me, but just, humanity in general, are just spraying for so much. Even the plants we buy have got sprays for whatever. And there is no balance and harmony anymore in terms of the bug society in my awareness. Like, it's been years since I've seen a ladybug, but I did see one earlier in January. So, one, but, and I'm looking out all the time. So anyway, long story short, I am standing there in front of this rose bush, and I ask my teams, like, what should I be doing here? What's the lesson here? And they say, this plant is being drained. Its life force has been drained by these. And, you can do whatever you want, obviously, but they're saying at some point you have to sacrifice some to be able to keep one alive. And yeah, it's intensive, but they were sort of wanting to remind me about how much, lots of small little beings can drain intensively and very dramatically one bigger plant. And, it's all purposeful, private, blah, 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 blah. So, it's always lessons, experiences there. So what I was sort of saying was, I mean, I ended up killing all those bugs. Okay. So once again, mass murderer. And when I was very aware of, like, we create our own karma, I would have, the old Joe would have said, oh, well, I'm going to be 1 billion bugs. I've got so much karma now. I'm going to have to play out 1 billion bug lifetimes and be brutally murdered and squished. to be able to have that experience because I've done this to others. And, it doesn't feel good. And I think this is what holds people back from, being reckless with their free will choices, because, they know that this could come back to them. But, I'm growing all my perspectives and all my concepts. I am growing beyond that and knowing that there's always more than one purpose. It is a life contract for me to realize how hard it is being the judge, the one in control of observing this plant that I want to protect, that I want to flourish and grow, from not being annihilated and destroyed and withered by all these bugs. And, it's a lesson for my consciousness to understand what's happened to Gaia, and to understand that they chose all the different bugs, and allowed the bugs to thrive. And, the plant represents Gaia. And, you can have choices here. And they've tried many times to sort of spray certain areas and try to distract and deflect and kind of, yeah. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked conversation.
No, I'm learning about aphids. It's all good. Yeah, yeah, I think that could be applied in so much. I know I never had that bad of a problem with, any of my plants personally, but even applying, like, I forget what it's called, DT. It's like a dirt with like little, in the dirt, bugs eat the dirt, right? And then the dirt kills the bugs, basically. Yeah, and you always got to wonder about, I always wonder food chains. That's kind of where my mind goes. You have the little bugs that bring in the other bugs, which bring in the birds. I noticed that this past year with my cabbage was getting uh, little green caterpillars. Anyway, and then I didn't do anything with the caterpillars. Well, then it attracted the birds, and the birds came and were eating the caterpillars from the plants with no pesticides and nothing. So anyway, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, then again, if I saw a million aphids eating my stuff, it might be a different story. But
It was about sort of, what do you do? Do you and I was taught this again with this swan plant that I had to grow, and to be able to house all of our monarch caterpillars, right? So, they're constantly showing me, like, physically these lessons so I could share this for myself and for the conscious memory. But so I grew this plant as big as I possibly could, and monarch butterflies, which you see on the screen, come, and they only eat, sorry, the caterpillars only eat one plant, which is the swan plants. And so, I purposely planted it, knowing that this would attract the monarchs, and so we could have caterpillars and allow the magic of metamorphosis to come and create more cycle of life stuff, right? So I'm not 100% a monster to bugs, sort of, kind of. But anyway, so what happened was there was way too many caterpillars, like insane amount of caterpillars came, and they were hungry caterpillars, and they destroyed the entire plant. They ate it all down to the nib, Ryan. And when I came home, and like the plant, I came home, the kids and I came home, well, the whole family came home, and we were, I can't remember what we'd done, and there was a caterpillar, a big fat one, like meters away from the plant, and it was like on the grass, and I was like, whoa, dude, what are you up to? Because we just had this big storm, so like the night before, and I realized, oh my gosh, and I looked at the plant, and it all had like withered and like been eaten up, and I was like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do now? And like the kids all, like, we all just became like these hunters for these caterpillars, and we tried to give them all these different types of leaves, but nothing worked. And the hungry caterpillar actual book is shit, because no caterpillar is going to eat a cupcake and lettuce and salami and like, so yeah, that's not real book, by the way. Yeah, that's that reference point's fucked. But
Well,
yeah.
thanks for clarifying that. I always wondered how a caterpillar could eat, piece of sausage and everything else and still be hungry and
Yeah, yeah.
still have enough room for a leaf the other day. It's thanks for summing that up. But
Well, it's a
yeah,
again teachable moment for my children, that not everything that's put into books is real, but then they're very much aware of fiction, and what's they're learning that some of the videos that they watch are not real, in terms of even just real footage of, like, say, they follow a few like YouTubers and stuff, and so there is some sort of special effects that is in some of their videos, which kind of blows my children's minds, and we sort of need to sort of remind them that that may not be the real situation, and we trying to talk to them about special effects and stuff, and which is good, because it's not necessarily just my department. Their dad gets to tell them about that stuff too, since that's his industry. But it's good. It is really good to be able to help share our children's lessons. And then we got to collect all these caterpillars and take them to a community garden, and they had these really big established swan plants. So it was a really happy story about donating, being careful of the wildlife, and all this sort of beautiful stuff. So it was wonderful. But again,
and
you know
and you're able to get your kids involved with that, and they were able to see it, and it's
yeah.
I read something the other day. It's like, and I was still kind of pondering this, but it was like, you true, like everything in life, or we just um the most joys in life are free.
Mm-hmm.
And it, made me think, right? That little experience you had with the bugs, it's called them little caterpillars. Um, kids remember that over probably, going to the movies, because it's just out in their mind. And in that anyway, that was
Yeah.
kind of, that phrase was kind of, in my head, and I'm thinking about, talking to my kids, what's one of your best times? We could go on a week long trip somewhere, and they'll be like, oh, it was going to the park.
Mm.
I'm like, really? The park that costs nothing, right? And it's, and it's definitely true. And I think it's kind of like, the small things can bring you joy. It's kind of the same kind of path there. But
Well, it was great,
yeah.
because all the kids got to pick up the caterpillars and be very mindful of how gentle and soft and squishy they could be. So,
Mm,
they were very respectful of that. And our now 4-year-old son Grayson was saying, he had this little caterpillar, and he was like, "It's calling out for its mum and dad." And so he would try to put them back with the other caterpillars, and that's when I got to see my Ivy, our 6-year-old, say to him, well, the caterpillars aren't the parents. The caterpillar is the butterfly. And, like, I got to see my children like teaching each other all these sort of beautiful experiences. And, it just was truly wonderful. Absolutely was free. I think that's mentioned a few times. I mean, ironically, if you haven't got to that part in Mastering Human, it's stated quite a few times, the best things in life are free. And
oh
so
wow.
that would be ironically beautiful if you didn't get that from the book, because it's coming, my friend. It's coming.
Yes. Yes, I'm on about the third of the way through, maybe chapter 6 or 5.5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely interesting book. Thanks for writing that. It's yeah, like the biggest things I can kind of just, if I can mention about the book here was I got it. It took me a while to order it. Just no reason. I'm just slow at everything I do, I guess. But I got the book. And, you kind of read a bit, you put it down, and then it's like what you picked up on when I started reading the book again. I was literally applying it to something that just happened in my life,
It's
or
amazing. Yeah.
like within 24 hours, there's an argument or a disagreement or whatever it was, and I'm like, holy smokes! I'm like, we were just, this is
Yeah.
me, and this is telling me how to look deeper into it. How do I feel? How do they feel? Anyway, I thought that was really cool, and probably the coolest part so far was just it feels like I stop and I start, and everything is purposeful in that stopping and
Yeah. Yeah.
stopping and starting.
Absolutely. I would not recommend to anyone to feel rushed into reading the entire book of it. Just go at, bite-sized bits of information. Whatever even a few sentences is profound, because that is the most important thing. And absolutely, I can guarantee you, whatever you pick back up again, like if you are going to just read it linear from, start to finish, wherever you've paused, you actually deliver it, experience it, then come back and be reminded of, how
Yeah.
to what the significance of that was, or how you could confirm for you that you've mastered that and that you did exactly as you're supposed to, or just it's so beautiful. And it's ridiculous now for anyone to have any belief that they're not protected, that they're not supported, and that they're alone, when you know this work and you have these experiences with the books, because that's undeniable. But again, we dismiss messages, we dismiss significances of things, we dismiss a whole lot of stuff, trying to be actively seeking out the big, have they landed on my lawn yet? Can I see ETs? And, who's been arrested publicly for the crimes against humanity? There is always messages and everything that's going on around us. And we just need to slow down to look and feel what that is. And I know some people could be really surprised and shocked that we're not losing our minds and going into deep despair and going into personal tragedy and mourning because of what's happened to many people in Europe right now through the earthquakes. And that's a choice. We could totally do that if we wanted to in a heartbeat, an absolute heartbeat. I could easily, for serious honesty, feel everything that they're going through, and could be in that, and physically, emotionally feel it all. And if I chose, I could, probably nonstop cry for a month. Easy. I know I could feel it easily if I wanted to. But is that what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to release the density through feeling that trauma and being there with them? Or am I supposed to do something else? And I know that this is a hard one for people. I'm not saying only focus on love and light and just be all, only focusing on the high frequency vibrations. Whatever you want to feel, it's always your choice. But I know for myself, and I can only really speak for myself when I'm consciously speaking, obviously. When I'm channeling, it's, our bigger dimensional friends giving us their perspectives. And again, free will choices to do whatever we want with that information. But I just know that I would be better of service if I could have profound, pure, just love, while having empathy and compassion for them deeply, but knowing that they're getting more support now than they ever have. The survivors are getting more support now than they ever have. And that is beautiful. While it's the worst way to get that level of support, this is profound. And I want to be responsible for my energy. I want to be responsible and mature with my perspectives. And it's all choices.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you send that positive, non-worried, non-dense love over.
Mm.
That was my approach. You know,
Well, I sort of feel like, if if it happened to us in New Zealand, and and if we were sort of the next example to remind humanity that things can be dramatically changed in a second, because this is all the teachable moments, that it can happen anywhere at any time at any moment. um what would I want humanity to think and feel for us? I would be aware that many people going through it would be struggling so much that there is already enough struggling for the conscious collective experience. I would want advanced, mature people to send pure love energy of empowerment to encourage us to pick ourselves up, to be there for others, to support others, to hug each other, have no boundaries with love, and to really get in and support each other at a profound level. And I think you would need to be able to have, basically the backing of all of humanity's kindness and compassion and thrive of high frequency energy to be able to get that motivation to get going with it. If everyone's just, this is the worst despair thing, blah, 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 you know, you know what I'm saying? I just
Yes.
wanted to consider how I would want others to, to respond to my family and to my community. But as we were speaking just before, we're all starting to realize that why we were super patriotic and loved our countries deeply.
Easy. Sorry, dog's having a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. It's okay, Gunner. All right,
Once
Joe.
once we sort of grow from that and realize we're one planet and that we're all one, we sort of have to lose our patriotism a bit, I think, to kind of understand and see what other countries are also going through and be compassionate to what other countries are going through with terms of controlled systems and manipulation for the awakening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Purposeful, but it doesn't feel good, does it? It sort of feels like, no, 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 no. We wanted to be living on the best country in the world, and we wanted to have pride in our nation and our leaders and our blah, 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 and like, yes, that's beautiful, but we're evolving in every aspect of our concepts and perspectives. We have to evolve ourselves, and that is about honest and full, complete unity of all beings here on earth for the earth experience. And that's all training us to be having more of a 50 mindset, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps. I find even having that 50, if you have that 5D mindset, it just helps with everyday 3D living in a way. Because, you're always trying to do the best, for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd want to discuss?
Hmm. Not off the top of my head. But yeah, you talked about lessons and everything, and how our lives are filled with lessons. Kids provide them almost seems every 5 minutes.
Mm.
Uh, I got two young kids, and they're love them to pieces. They just take a lot of it's a lot of work, which is okay. And I'm learning and I'm doing the best that I could do. But yeah, no, I'm just and I think by bringing them up in this kind of atmosphere of, let's call it, the 5D thinking, I think it's going to be really impactful on them.
Absolutely. Well, you know we've we're all supporting each other and whatever roles we're playing with our family, and with our kids, to have those experiences just for the conscious collective. We sort of think, I'm so advanced, why am I struggling with this? Why am I being brought down to deal with 3D? And again, it's because this is for the collective's consciousness, a data bank, if you will, memory. And so, you know, while we feel like, well, for how many times have I have to experience this problem or whatever, 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 this is about, empowering all the perspectives for conscious collective. And this is sort of hard when we feel like it's just our own personal problems and our own, privacy of our own home. But when we're still reactive to things, when we still don't see that. Yeah, I mean, I know, again, it's super significant, it's always purposeful. That sounds so cliche, but when we explore it, and maybe I should just keep asking them to clarify more explanations to explore, because I really feel like one situation has, potentially a dozen significant purposes.
Mm.
But, in sessions, we only explore one, maybe two, and maybe it needs to go deeper, 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 deeper. But do we need all perspectives to be shared? in sessions for people to kind of start trusting and having the perspective that there is always solutions that we may not necessarily, you know, trust or want to see or understand at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like, we're, guided by our teams, right? So, if something needs to be explored more, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it normally is. And if one answer or one word or answers, suffice, then I feel like, our teams know, and they'll kind of proceed from that. That's kind of through my experiences through sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. I
But
mean, it's fascinating times, and I feel pretty passionate and excited about it. But I sort of am mindful that some people think that, you know, if you don't if you don't look at the dark sides of life and be destroyed emotionally and mentally and physically like everyone else going through like the earthquake situation right now, you're not living it, you're not, allowing people's realities or whatever. It gets really complicated, but I feel like for me, um having balance and perspectives helps me be more of service. I don't see me going down to their density, helping them when I'm not physically with them. And I mean, I can energetically instantly. Um, but there's many mindsets to it, isn't it? And I mean, I do want to help them. I absolutely do want to help them, but it feels like literally imagining myself like behind them. This must sound really creepy, but this is what they showed me, and I did this to quite a few people. So I'm imagining myself energetically there behind them, and I'm literally like put my arms out, and I'm like standing above them, and I'm showering them with love, and they are in tragedy. They're in shock. They are heavily traumatized, and I am breathing calmness, and I'm just sending them love, and I'm just breathing in and out with them, and it's kind of like I'm infusing them with this sense of something being there with them. And I'm not trying to be God or anything like that. I'm literally trying to just be an energetic being, just sensing that they are there and that they are okay, and that there is yeah, it's acknowledging where they're at and supporting them through and kind of breathing with them and grounding them through it. And it's not trying to hijack their experiences. It's just about energetically supporting them to feel it all and purge it out, because this is important for them to experience it. But it's just not letting them get completely in density. I mean, they're feeling it all. They're feeling the worst of the worst. But there is something that we can do energetically to be supporting them through it. Um,
yeah.
it's just it's interesting. I just didn't think I was going to be able to energetically support people like that before, but when I sort of close my eyes and think, how can I be of service to this, I feel like I'm right beside them.
Oh,
And I don't have all of the senses. I don't want to have all the senses. I know the smell is insane. I know that the temperature is not pleasant. And I know the sound is the thing that I am so grateful I don't get to hear and experience, because that is so emotive. It's very intensive. So this all the senses are super heightened, and they're starting to get adrenal fatigue. And so it's about them still being of service to help as they need to be. But it's sort of just buffering that. And I don't know how to express or explain what they are feel. I mean, they're feeling it all, but this is helping them. And I don't want it to sound like ego, but it is just this comfort for their souls at a soul level, while their human experience is very overwhelmed and very sensitive to every sense. I'm just being there at a soul level, supporting that soul too. I can't understand why or explain it any better way. And maybe I could channel and express it more, but I want to be their support any way I can. And I just don't see how I could help them if I allowed all my emotions to just come through.
Mhm.
Anyway, I think I've over explained it, but it's
No, well,
strange.
I think yeah, I think I understand what you're trying to say. Thanks for sharing your thought on that for sure. I appreciate it. So you mentioned that when you're talking there, like balancing. Now, I'm fairly new on this journey. Like I haven't, about 2 years into this spiritual journey, I'd say. But how do you balance? Like
So it's
maybe
about emotional balance. So I remember reincarnation, the soul chose this. They are protected. They would not be in this predicament if this was not part of their life contract that they wanted to experience.
Mhm.
Whatever this hideous experience that they're going through is, this is purposeful. This is purposeful. This is meaningful for that soul to experience this at a human level. It's, obviously consciously not our choice, thank you. I would not be like, sure, yeah, give that to me. I would not consciously want that experience, but at a soul level, just like their soul level, they are there for it for whatever reason, whatever purpose. Well, you may not ever be able to understand it at a human level. So that's balances me. This is part of their life contract. I must respect their life contract, their journey. I, you know it's horrific. It's extraordinary. Like, I would not wish this on anybody, but that is my ego wanting to limit and protect that soul's experience. And
Yeah.
what a jerk. What a jerk for me to want to protect people from this. This is necessary for whatever reason for that soul. That's an advanced soul. Those are advanced souls having those horrific tragedies. That's advanced souls in those little children's bodies, and we can feel it at a human level. And we have to understand to have our balance that these advanced souls are very capable. This is not breaking the souls. This is just, this is extraordinary challenging our human experience to trigger the full range of emotions. And when you have horrific tragedy, you see beautiful unity starting to form and merge and to support each other like they've never seen before. Humans are amazing at coming together in tragedy. They are excellent at it. They thrive for it almost. You have to have horrific drama to motivate people to suddenly want to help others. And we love victim modes. We love to see a victim to support a victim. This is part of, our helping needs. This is, it's strange. We would not give compassion to someone just on the street. But if you see someone that's, in desperate need, that motivates, that's us, that triggers us. But we have to have that dramatics to feel like this is justifiable. We can do this. We're not going to stop ourselves. Oh, that might seem strange if we love that stranger on the street or whatever. We have to have this horrific tragedy to then allow ourselves to give extraordinary level of compassion and empathy.
Well, thanks. Yeah. And even that's even took some I took some pointers from that, even just balancing, and everything. It doesn't have,
Mm,
like the way you mentioned you balanced about looking at the bigger perspective and um, you know, contracts and meetings and everything. Like I think
yeah.
that it's something that it doesn't have to be a catastrophic event. It could just kind of be anything and balancing um
Yeah.
this,
It's
kind of like everyday life type thing is what I'm getting at, eh?
Yeah, absolutely yeah, to balance things. You see your kids, acting up, pushing boundaries, not eating things, and blah 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 blah. Are we going to react and lose our balance, our inner peace, our cool? Are we going to lose our patience? Are we going to, balance is about just having the inner peace and just being okay with the world. And if we, see things that may trigger us out of that balance, Kids aren't picking up their shoes. They're I mean, my children are litter bugs. They are geniuses at litter bugs. They will find any wrapper and they will find any nook, cranny, crevice. I mean, it's outrageous, like, and I just say, why do you guys do this? And they just don't want to get up and put things in the rubbish bin. I mean, it's almost to the point that do I tie a little rubbish bin around their waists? Like, what do I do at this point? But I'm all cool with it, because it's like, well, this is your home. This is the way you're going to treat your home. Of course, when I say pick it up, then they, oh my gosh, it's outrageous that I'm asking them to do this work for them, but it's like, well, if you don't want me to ask you to pick up it, why do you put it down? Like, like it's a conversation. But it's about teaching them responsibility and, accountability and all that fantastic stuff, right? And so, I could approach that 15 different ways, and I don't want to lose my balance or my cool. I don't want to lose my high vibe. So that balance is your emotional balance. That balance is your mental balance and perspectives. And, sometimes I've super overreacted to stuff and sometimes I've under overreacted to stuff either. So, that's finding that fine-tuned balance of being there. I also know I get triggered on purpose to lose my balance, to be reactive, to trigger others. And that never feels good, but it's teachable moments as well. And, it's a roller coaster. And it would not be wise for people to assume that they have to be unaffected by anything an entire day to have official balance. We get triggered up and down all the time to find where that balance level is. And again, that's teachable moments for the conscious collective. Everything that we are doing is being recorded for the conscious collective. And so it's significant how we conduct ourselves and how we're responsible for ourselves, because we are all one. And at the greater level of all, we are inputting how to find the perspectives and the balance for all that should be needed and applied for all. It's the 100 monkey thing. What is it? Is it called the 100 monkey effect? I know people have, I mean,
I want to say I heard about it, Joe, but I don't really know.
Cool.
Or else I would definitely chime in on explaining it a little bit here. But so you mentioned, the collective. We mention the collective very regularly.
Mm-hmm.
The collective now. What's the difference between the collective and like something like the Akashic Records or the library? It's been said, the library is that kind of more of a personal experience, and the collective is obviously collective consciousness across,
Yes. So the Akashic Records is the history of your entire soul and what it's been up to and experienced. And so that's kind of like, if you will, one book of an entire library. And the entire library is the collective experience, and one book is yours. Gotcha. While it's all part of the entire library.
Cool. No, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I wasn't for sure. So thanks for confirming that.
Yeah. And it's just my opinion. And also I just want to say, I didn't write the books. There's only a small part of my conscious mind that has written those books. And so, I know you sort of said thanks for writing this books. I didn't. No one really did the whole writing of them. This was, we edited transcripts from channeling. And some of those collectives don't want to be named. Some of those collectives can't be named. We don't have any English translatable language, and I'm not going to start doing light language to express people's and collectives names at an official level, because that's details and distractions. So there is so many collectives, and they could have labels and brand themselves and blah 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 blah, but I come from this approach where it's the concepts that are the most important, the most focus, that most things that need to be focused on. I know we love labels, but it's distracting. You're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but seriously, if anyone judged the new Mastering Human, the small version book, crazy, because it's fucking gorgeous. Like, it's stunning. Like, I'm just like, oh,
Right.
that's such a gorgeous book. Anyway, my opinion. And that's cool because yeah, Mastering Human is a beautiful book. It's very confronting us to find all our little nooks and crannies that we have been looping, and it is the most empowering book. And I don't think I'm saying that because I was part of it. I empowered myself and learned profound things from that book. And I treasure that. I treasure the whole experience, even though at a personal level, what I was going through at the time while writing that, well, while editing that book, was very intensive. And I didn't physically write one word. It was all on computers. And so it's descripts just details that can distract even myself. But um it is such a beautiful empowerment, and I feel so privileged to have a copy for myself. Like that's the bonus of being able to know this work. Being a part of this work is mind blowing. I mean, I could cry because I feel so grateful to have this
Mhm.
information, because I know the old Joe would have been absolutely batshit crazy by now. Like, she would have been in full terror, full like hysterical. I don't think I would have been able to cope, because I would have just been very reactive to everything and cried for everything and just felt all the tragedies, all the dramas, all of it. And I would have absolutely would have got lost in all of that emotion.
Mm. Wow. Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing your experiences.
Hmm. Well, I sort of didn't want my own personal experiences to kind of, distract either. Um, and I sort of did, sort of talk to you about how, um, during Mastering Human, my partner died. And that was pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I still am processing it. Um,
There's that screen hug again for you, Joe.
thanks. But, it's purposeful, and I learned so much through it, and it's weird because I didn't even cry through the process of it. Um, because I was just so practical with it
Mhm.
and didn't want to have any nonsense of like the emotions, because it was like I was out of my control. And I knew it was purposeful, and I had to respect his like contract and stuff. And you know, it's fine. Like, I don't want it to sound so dramatic, but I mean, he did have a full walkout, and he is now, I mean, his physical body was shutting down. And he did have a soul walkout, and then it just there's lots to it, and I just don't feel like I want to sort of overshare. But walk in came, and it's a more advanced version of his soul. And it was a long process. And him going through that was, I think, like a 2 week period where his body was shutting down and stuff, and it was intense. But the drive to do the book and to get Mastering Human out was a force within itself as well. And I just knew that our teams had like this massive pressure to get it done, 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 get it done. And it was kind of like they were really pushing it, and they could see the more like they could it was like they could see the reaction of how this was going to empower people, and they were super pleased. and they keep wanting to add onto it and expand onto it and energy and have more energy put into it.
Mm.
The more that they were exploring and expanding upon it. And so this was super motivating them. And they would like just loving the results and the chain reactions to it. So they were like, just get it all in. And they just, it was fast, 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 like, and it was intensive. And then we just shared it out, and it's been edited and fine-tuned since the first release, which I'm super grateful. Like, I'm very grateful for all the support, me trying to organize this, to be able to have readable versions of the book while being, not comfortable with my spelling or my grammar. I don't care about the grammar. I don't care about that sort of stuff. I wish I could. I'm sorry. It's just not my skill set. I know it's a weakness, but it doesn't seem like this is something they want me to focus on. Like, I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for something else, and I have other skill sets that I need to focus on. And so
Absolutely.
I am so grateful for all of the support that I had through that book, because I needed it. And like, I know humanity needs this book. So it was a lot.
Well, like I mentioned before, then I'm glad you had all that. I'm glad you had that support. It turned out, you know, I know you said you didn't write it, which yeah, I knew that. But I'm grateful for it being, and the validation, like I said, is just opening up that book and realizing like how did the book align with my life at this moment? Like it's just, it's so profound and it's so
I've like met quite a few people that have just suddenly
yeah.
discovered these sessions, and
Mhm.
just sort of like found these sessions. Somehow it resonated with them so deeply they wanted to have a session, and it's just so divine timing. And they have like had a session with me, then they started reading the book, and then they empowered themselves through the book, and they're having more sessions with me. I mean, as a practitioner and as a person who's so deeply compassionate to humanity, this is a gift that, I am seeing profound growth from people fast. Like, it's extraordinary. And like, we see other people grow and it's tremendous. But when people are seeing their own personal growth at rapid rates, you get speed bubbles almost, because you're growing so fast, like
Mhm.
it's amazing. And like, this gives me the best joy, is seeing people
Awesome.
pick up this work and grow at an expansive rate. And I recognize, and I feel so blessed to see profound growth, because I have seen some people know this, and be in these sessions and be aware of these sessions for years, and they're still hung up on some really basic stuff that they should have outgrown a long time ago. And so whatever reason and purpose that is, I have to trust that that's part of their life contract. And I almost feel sorry for them, because that's a very hard way to live. But if they can't overcome that or heal that until maybe the old earth experience, or whatever, like, it's no point judging anything at any point now, because you just can't see the significance or purpose or the life contracts of everything. So,
Yes.
I acceptance is the best thing. But, and I think that was kind of making me feel a bit bad and questioning maybe I'm not doing enough, when I was seeing certain people not growing, and I couldn't understand why they weren't growing. And I felt bad that I was judging them and all this sort of stuff, and I kind of felt like maybe this was somehow a problem because of the work I was producing, or I wasn't expanding on certain things, wasn't asking for certain healing, so it was kind of, and it's only just a few people, but, I take this and my responsibilities probably too much, too personal. And it means so much because I put everything into it. And so if I feel like I'm not enough, or this, I'm missing something, that drives and motivates me, like, I put everything. um I barely do my pottery. I barely do, much of anything else apart from this work. And if I'm not supporting someone, it's a lot. And I always worry that I'm not enough, or I'm not doing enough. And I think that's part of, me just being able to still be dedicated to the life contract that I want to honor. Because I deeply respect, obviously it's not a surprise. I was saying to you before, if I'm not Dolores Cannon's number one fan, I would love to meet that person. because I think that person and I would get on like a house on fire, if that's a right term to even say these days. I don't know, but you know, I deeply honor that life contract she had, and I also love the collectives and I respect their position, and I want to help them because I see so many people not helping themselves. And so whatever I can do to help assistance, I'm here for it. But it has come at, it's been hard. Yeah, it has been hard, but also, my own growth and my own inner peace, that's priceless. And I would never want to have been go back to how much I was in fear and how scared I was when I was sleeping, when I wasn't fully awake.
Yeah, and I know I said it 3 times and I'll say it again, but I personally am very appreciative for your work, the sessions that you provide online. I'm that girl, your personal opinion on certain issues, and then most recently, the books that you helped create. I
Hmm.
know I said it 3 times, but I am. I'm really and truly, true heartedly appreciative for that. And you know,
Well, and I thank you, but what how people show appreciation is by applying. It's all cute to have, these videos, blah, 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 whatever, whatever, whatever. But
right.
honoring what has been given to us is part of the appreciation, and I love to see and be aware of, your growth. And some days we are very reactive, and that's purposeful. And some days we're mastering it, and that's purposeful. So, I just want to recognize your growth and your awesomeness. Your session was profound. You should be really proud of how well you did with that session.
Thank you.
And it's a lot. It's a lot to surrender into these sessions, and the concepts of shifting to a new planet, it's not entertainment. There's a lot of emotions that go involved with all of that, and it's a pretty big concept. And we're not suicidal. I would love to keep living my life and seeing how my kids evolve, and waiting for my grandchildren to come and litter in my own children's houses. Like, I would love that karmic experience, just for the gratification of it. Like, that would be fantastic. I would love that. But yet every time I ask about it in sessions, that's not the information that we get. And
Mm.
am I going to be responsible with the information and prepare myself? I do. I want to be prepared, and I want to be prepared the best way through emotions. um that's just me.
No, I agree. That 15-minute white light meditation that you provided has taught me lots. To base,
So when you had the
yeah.
session, when I was doing that, I felt that vortex energy spiral swirl. And so that was really strong in that one. um to let you know that. So
Okay.
yeah, and I, it's just such strong energy that you can feel it in a spiral pattern going through the body, comes down through the head and just goes, and it actually physically makes me want to move the same pattern. Like, it's an internal thing where my whole body wants to go with it. um but it can be distracting. So yeah, it's I mean, it's all gas for everyone. And I know that, sometimes we don't want to like awaken our friends to, what we believe in thinking. But if you're going to help a friend, I think giving them that meditation for 15 minutes is going to really help them slow their minds, slow their bodies, and soften their minds to the harshness and the triggering reactions of the tragedies that are around this planet,
Mm.
including the personal changes that are happening to people. I know, financially everyone's struggling. I know, there's so much stuff that's happening, that's changing us to sort of force those to awaken if they haven't awoken yet. I mean, we could all find, a billion reasons to just cry our eyes out and just, be on the floor and just not want to adult today. you know, I mean, that's honest, right? Like we all could do,
Yeah.
but we know that that's not really a luxury that we kind of have as we are advanced beings. We know what's happening. We were awoken on purpose. We know we have to be of service, and being real with other people and sharing. I just can't go into the emotional tragedy of being on earth today because it's just too draining. I'm going to ground myself emotionally, energetically, and I'm going to be grateful for all the things that we do have, because someone else's life contract doesn't necessarily give us the invitational right or permission to react as if that's our own lives. I know so many people want to cry over the crimes against humanity for those children, but it's kind of like, well, if you really explored that, those children that had the crimes against humanity happen to them, that's their life contract, that's their experiences for their personal stuff. Yes, they shared it publicly so others could be triggered, but really what's going on there is us healing our own childhood. And
Mm.
but when you don't want to look at your own childhood and recognize you're the victim at your own childhood for whatever reasons, may not even be this lifetime, but people don't want to look at their own pain, so they'll project in their worries and fears and tragedy and traumas for other people. It's easier to emotionally emote through other people's experiences than actually honor our own personal journey, because it's too painful, because parents are dead or something something something. I mean, it's fascinating. It's so fascinating what our mindsets and our experiences give us to learn and grow from.
Yes, and it's much better to look at everything from a metaphysical or a larger, like the larger, like look out at the whole thing. And I think it totally changes the way you do everything and look at everything and experience things. So yeah, it all ties in, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I feel like if we have any questions or like, what is the purpose of this? What's the significance of this? I mean, we should be questioning everything for it, right? But if there are things we just can't have a clue of why, that's should be enough to motivate people to explore that in sessions. Because subconsciouses love to give us these perspectives. They love it. That's what they're here for. And it always makes us feel so much more stable and balanced and understand and cope with things better when we actually understand why.
Right.
Um, we could try to use our human minds. I mean, I did that for ages, try to use my human mind to understand the purpose and significance of things. And then I'd ask them in a session. And, it's sometimes just not possible to be able to get that bigger perspective being human with our concepts of understanding it. Like it's amazing what information they give us. um because it's sometimes I just think, God, I never would have thought of that perspective. That's phenomenal. And I love that we're always learning, and that gives me excitement. That gives me the joy knowing that what I think I know now can always evolve and change and grow, because I'm still early steps of my own spiritual journey of awakening and understanding the significance of things. So, it gives me this greater inner peace now. I'm looking forward to, the days coming, how much more extra greater peace and inner joy I'll feel.
Great. And I heard this rumor that interns are free for QHHD.
A nasty rumor. Well, yes, good interns will honor the fact that they have to do 25 free sessions. Now, petitioners can do level 2 course after 6 or 7 sessions, right? So they say after doing the course, after doing 7 or 8 clients, oh yeah, I'm a level 2. The website's not up to date. I'm level 2 practitioner because I've done the course, but the website still says they're interns. The
Oh,
website will never update a practitioner until they do 25 sessions, those 25 per person. So it's not just, doing your best friend 25 times. That sounds dodgy, doesn't it? But no, it's doing 25 different people. And I would say successful sessions where you've got the subconscious mansplaining, monologuing, and beautiful subconscious, delivery, all of the information that that client needs. That would be, my recommendation for anyone serious that wants to honor this work. 25 different people, beautiful sessions where there is healing, there is perspectives, there's everything plus a cup of tea, that the subconscious is going to provide for that client. That's when, as an intern, you say, yes, I did 25 intern sessions for free because I love all of those people. Now, if you did a brilliant job as a practitioner with those clients, you can guarantee they'll be coming back to pay you for their next sessions, because that you have shown them you love them, you heard them, you respected, you guided them, you did not ridicule them for any of their fears or insecurities or whatever. You were their friend, you were their soul family representative, support people, whatever you want to call them. Like, that's how you grow as a practitioner, by genuinely caring about people.
Makes sense. Thanks. Yeah, makes
Well,
sense.
yeah. I mean, you'd think it's common sense, but sometimes people do lack common sense because they focus on other sense, their financial pocket. They focus on their money and collecting their abundance and collecting their wealth and their what they think is the important status, than actually growing their common sense, growing their metaphysical perspectives, growing their maturity and their accountability of their actions and behaviors. So it's choices, and we can respect all choices, but I know that the teams, the collectives that want to give the practitioners the advanced information will not, until their integrity and agenda is correct. And this frustrates some of those big ego practitioners that demand to get big information, and the subconsciouses are like, you're dreaming. Yeah, like, you're still basic with your inner work skill sets. But that's an opinion that I have, and I'd love to be proven wrong. All right, have I vented enough, ranted enough? Is there anything else you want to explore before we go? Have I lost you?
No, still here.
Okay, cool. It's my internet that's unstable. That's embarrassing. Okay, well, time to wrap up then. Is there any final messages that you have for the people listening?
Hmm. No, just smile. Smile at people.
Yeah,
The smiles are free and are absolutely, I know you've mentioned this, but I've lived by it for years. Is smile and a wave is free, and it can make someone's day. So just be nice, be the best possible you tomorrow.
Ryan, a smile can be life-changing for people who receive
I
them.
agree. I agree.
Like, seriously, that gift of a loving smile to a stranger, I mean, that's heroes work, honestly. Like, that you cannot fake that love energy, that recognition of eyes meeting and acknowledging each other at a soul level, at an energetic level, at a human level. I mean, that is the best gift you could give that person, and that honestly could change their life.
Awesome.
It's
Yeah,
profound.
I agree. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, well, smiles to everybody. Drink lots of water, and it's true, interns are free.
Thanks, Joe.
Allegedly.
Take care.
Bye.